everybody, welcome back. And I guess we're doing this. This is going to be part one of a series of 5 videos initially on the 5 major psalters on the market in the English language based on the Septuagint text, or corrected for the Septuagint. And so we're starting off with the big one, the controversial one, but the one that everyone seems to love, the Psalter according to the 70 from Holy Transfiguration Monastery in Massachusetts. So, real quick, couple notes on the publication. The original Psalter for the 70, of which this is the 2nd edition. The original 1st edition was a tad thicker, but shorter. The back had a different seal on it. There's a copy at the church. I just forgot to grab it yesterday. But otherwise, it's the same thing. It was first published in 1974. The revised edition, which is this one, was printed in 2008 and is not all that expensive. The original hardcover is only $22, whereas the pocket version, which we'll take a look at in a minute, is only $14. Widely available at just about every Orthodox online retailer and Amazon, as well as directly from the Holy Transfiguration Monastery. A few notes on the translation. The translation is based on a translation by Father Lazarus Moore, who you may or may not have heard of, but he was a great monk and translator back in the day. And his translation actually was used in the original Jordanville prayer book, which was published, oh my lord, I am having a brain fart. Oh yeah, 1979. Okay, Jordanville was published in 1979, and the Lazarus Moore translation was used up until 2003, when Jordanville switched to this translation. And Rucor has been using this translation in all their publications for the longest time, and that is up until the release of their Psalter, which was in turn used in their pocket prayer book, which was the first video I ever did, so go check that one out. At any rate, let's get into the construction of this Psalter. Now, I've had this one, as you can see, for quite some time, although I don't use this particular copy as much as I do others. This one was actually a gift when I was a catechumen back in 2013. I was actually chrismated just before then, so they sent this to me. I won a contest. At any rate, cloth bound. Got a little wear and tear here, but the binding, even though it's not technically laid flat, is Smith sewn and does lay pretty much flat. I will say, I tried to be a monk once at Hermitage of the Holy Cross in Wayne, West Virginia, and this, of course, was the version of the Psalter they used there. So when I was reading from this. Now, personally, I've been dealing with this translation since I was a catechumen, between 2012 and 2013. So, like so many others, this is the translation that I am used to. And good old Psalm 50. Most of you are probably well familiar with this translation. That is, again, it was used by most jurisdictions up until recent years. The big thing that this version has over the pocket version is that it does have the 9 odes, or canticles, if you will, which is the only thing missing from the pocket version. What you will find in both, if I can get my fingers to move correctly after all of this, and here we go. So you have prayers for the reposed, which you can find in most Orthodox prayer books, but it's good to have it in a Psalter because As some of you know, and some of you may not know, when someone reposes in the Lord, that is, dies, it is traditional for the Psalms to be read over them until the time of the funeral. You also have these handy-dandy charts on reading the Catechismus through the church year, which this is the simplest and easiest way to figure out what you should be reading. The only gripe I have is the Roman numerals. It's just overkill, but it looks pretty. And outside of that, it is the Psalms. Now, what I do like here is the assigned Psalms for services. Not everyone has an Orologian at home, but sometimes you just want to read the Psalms for any given time of day, especially if you miss church and you want to read the Psalms that would typically be used as the antiphons. All that information is right here, and especially for monastic use, the mid-hours, especially used during Great Lent in monasteries. It is a black and red print, as you can see, and the artwork, although I'm not entirely certain where it comes from, is neat. It's got that old Greek style to it. And we'll be getting into what that's all about in a bit. But all in all, well-constructed book. The pages are nice and thick. It's sturdy. These things are built to last, and they're built to be used. The same can be said about the pocket version. Now, this is the second copy I've owned. The first copy I gave away to a friend before I left for the monastery. This one was acquired at the monastery after I realized I shouldn't have given away my pocket Psalter. So this one doesn't have nearly the wear and tear on it that my older one did. It's not nearly as broken in, and there certainly aren't any wax drippings from when it's used during services. But again, Smythstone binding, hardcover, cloth bound, doesn't necessarily lay flat, but with a little break-in, lays flat just fine. And again, all the contents are exactly the same as in the full-size version, just scaled down. What I will say is that of all the pocket Psalters that I have put my hands on thus far, the readability of this particular version is second to none. If there's one thing that I could say about maybe the Jordanville Psalter, is that it's just a little cramped, where the font is just the right size, and it makes for very easy reading. There's no distracting numbers really anywhere. You just read the psalm. And again, same artwork, and that's a fortune cookie fortune, and the reason it's in there: guard yourself against evil temptations. And what do you do with a Psalter? You got it. And just for comparison's sake, come here. There you go. So we have Psalm 50 marked in here, and I want to show you the comparison between the two as far as the size of the print goes. It's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all, and as you can see, it is literally the same printing. There are many priests that I've talked to that this is their preferred translation. I know at the monastery it's their preferred translation. It's most people's preferred translation, although there is some controversy about it because it is from Holy Transfiguration Monastery, which is not canonically recognized by any mainline Orthodox jurisdiction. And so for that reason, a lot of people shy away from this. So I'm going to give you a quick history lesson on HTM and why there is absolutely nothing wrong with this translation. The Holy Transfiguration Monastery was formed by former members of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese and Rocor in 1960, and that was mostly due to calendar disputes with the ecumenical patriarch, because they were switching to that new calendar thing, and so they started their own. And so originally they were under Rocor because they were still old calendar. Now, the monastery left Rocor in 1986 for the HOCNA, Holy Orthodox Church of North America, which is not canonically recognized, simply because their abbot was accused of things. At this point, the camera cut out and I had to start a new video. So I know I'm trying to cram a lot of information into a very small amount of time because, again, I do record on this cell phone. That's just what I got to deal with. I've got 10 minutes or so to work with in each video, and so now I got to split it up. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this very, very brief history of this marvelous translation of the Psalms. If you have any questions about it, hit me up in the comments below. My email address is in the channel description, as well as a list of books that have been requested that I review that I don't yet have, and as po. So if you'd like to contribute to the channel, I don't accept money, but I do accept books. So head on over to the channel description and you can see books that are needed for the show and links where you can get them. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you all once and again. 1.5 big old thumbs up, and we will see you next time. Go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget to check out my page here on YouTube for what you can do to help the channel move along. Thanks.